Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GSTZen. We will be starting the webinar in a few minutes. I request you all to please wait.
Utkarsh, can I start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can start. Sir, I think we can start, sir.
Welcome everyone. Today's webinar on e-invoice, and I'm sure many of you have been using e-invoice. For some of you, it is might be applicable from the beginning of the next year. What we are going to discuss today is the legal provisions on the e-invoice, how the e-invoice needs to be generated, the basic version, how you can use API to integrate your accounting application and generate. We have other method using Excel or a database integration with GSTZen. We are going to do it. My name is Venugopal Gela. I'm a practicing chartered accountant. I've been in practice since 2002. And little bit about GSTZen. GSTZen is an ASP GSP providing solutions to the business on filing returns with ease. With GSTZen, you have lot of clients who are filing the returns from listed entities to small stores. The much talked feature of GSTZen is the consolidated return, which is downloaded in Excel. On a click of a button, you get a view of all the data that have been filed. The reconciliation engine of GSTZen is pretty smooth. A lot of people, finance professionals, love this for easily reconciling the data which is there in the books versus the government portal. A most talked feature is the notice management. If you have registered user of GSTZen, beta version is available to all the selected customers. You definitely need to explore, where on a click of a button, you will get the notices are served on you and you can interact with the notice. There is a language model which has been inbuilt, wherein you can ask questions to the notice, asking like who has sent, why it has been sent, everything. And it constructs the response in a beautifully way. There's an order, we call it as IRAC. In the same order, the notice is also replied. So you can use this as a base to build your responses. And very good feature of GSTZen, whether you're filing your GSTR9, GSTR1, GSTR3, could be anything. You have an option of storing the data, and in GST terms, in litigation terms, we call it as RUD, relied upon documents. So the relied upon documents can be stored in the GSTZen portal. 3 years later, 5 years later, when you get a notice, you have access to what is the data basis which you have filed the returns. That's a little bit about GSTZen. Coming to today's webinar, we are going to look at the Excel integration, Tally integration, API integrations. We are going to look at all of this. And as I said, GSTZen can help you in filing GST returns, downloading reports, most talked feature IMS. Again, we are going to have a session on IMS. I would request people to attend all the sessions on IMS so that you get the concept of IMS clear. Because time and again people ask, I want to see the last month IMS. No, IMS is not a monthly concept like your returns, right? We have around 50,000 plus customers using various applications at any given point of time. We have around 1 million records, 35 million e-invoices generated, standalone 1.6 e-way bill. So people use the application both for e-way bill and e-invoice. I always tell clients that you should automate your process. Today, cost of non-compliance is very high. Not having an e-way bill attracts a penalty of 200% of the tax under section 129, while you have no intention to evade the tax. And government is looking for revenue. They are like the silent cops hiding somewhere and walking, figuring out whom to catch. E-way bill issues are also like that. Very minor mistake. Maybe goods are moving to a place which is unregistered location, but which is valid, or goods almost reached the destination. You have 8 hours before, 8 hours after renewal, just before about to expire, you are delivering the goods, or you are carrying an invoice document which is not in line with the e-way bill document, and these are all system generated. You got to be very careful on e-invoice.
Sir, sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt, sir.
yeah.
Can you please adjust your camera angle, sir? It is not
Okay.
proper.
Better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, to whom e-invoice is applicable? E-invoice started in the period of the COVID. 1st September 20 was the first launch, and 500 crores and above turnover have been asked for generating e-invoice. Since that was the beginning of the implementation, they have deferred it a month. So 1st October 2020 became the effective date. Though effective date is September, but they got 30 days to begin the process. Slowly, they have increased the limit of the people whom joined. So they said 100 crores and above, then moved to 50 crores, 20 crores, 10 crores, now 5 crores and above, effective 1st August 23. They had a plan of having everyone under e-invoice system from 1st April 25. However, the kind of IMS and other things being in place, not sure to what extent that would come in, but 5 crores and above is a decent number. Now, what does this 5 crores aggregate turnover means? The aggregate turnover of 5 crores or any number we are talking is in any of the previous financial year. If your turnover is this, you have to be complying with the e-invoice norms. Now, the notification 68/2019 that has brought the genesis of e-invoice. We all know Rule 46 about the tax invoice, the contents of tax invoice. In Rule 48, the manner of issuing the invoice, they have inserted 3 sub-rules, 48.4, where they said wherever notified persons e-invoice is applicable. So INV1 is what has been specified, and they said that has to be issued. And if they are issuing any other invoice, that is not valid. And the multiple copies of the invoices are not required. If someone is carrying, you don't need to carry multiple copies. Generally, they say original to the recipient, duplicate to the transporter, triplicate copy to the supplier. You don't need to carry all this. Where do I generate it? They have notified 10 common portals, of which 6 are live. We will look at that. The form in which it has to be sent 60/2020. They have given the contents, we call it a schema. The schema of e-invoice has also been given. Here are the e-invoice portals. e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, that was the first e-invoice. Everyone were, at least even today, 90% of the traffic gets generated from e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. Later, beginning last year, these other 5 portals have come: e-invoice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, operated by different people. E-invoice 2 is operated by NIC again. In fact, NIC recommends everyone using e-invoice 1 to have a backup in e-invoice 2 also. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, on 31st December, and a month back, around 8 p.m. in the evening, e-invoice 1 portal went down. Technically, I don't know the reasons, but it went down. Many people were unable to generate the e-invoices, and people got used of generating e-invoice with one system. The entire portal was down. So the government then budged in and said that, okay, they have also given 1 day relaxation. Midnight, they have given a notification that all the e-way bills expiring will be extended by 1 day automatically, and those who could not generate an e-way bill, you can move the goods and generate it a later date. Why I always suggest use a software like when you are working with GSTZen. Zen has a backup failure system. So if e-invoice 1 is not working, automatically the data moves to e-invoice 2 and the invoices get generated. Who are the persons who have to generate an e-invoice? Every registered person has to generate an e-invoice, except if the registered person is an SCZ, if the registered person is a government authority or a local authority, or if the registered persons are already covered under 54 sub-rule 2344A for issuing a tax invoice like banking company, transport, passenger transport, goods transport, or admission to cinematographic film. These entities are exempted from generating an e-invoice. They can if they want, but they are not mandatory to generate an e-invoice. When I say SCZ, the person SCZ is exempt. If you are supplying to SCZ, you are still liable to generate an e-invoice. What documents e-invoice is applicable? The one covered in green, it is applicable. One covered in the red below is not applicable. The e-invoice is qua document. The e-invoice is qua transaction and qua recipient. If you have any questions, you can always put it into the chat. We are here, we'll take up the questions. Now, when I say the qua document, only a tax invoice, e-invoice is applicable. For a bill of supply, e-invoice is not applicable. Alongside of tax invoice, credit notes and debit notes, e-invoice is applicable. But other documents like delivery challan, ISD, not applicable. But a tax invoice issued to a B2B, only e-invoice is applicable. A tax invoice issued to B2C, e-invoice is not applicable. Likewise, bill of supply issued to B2B, e-invoice is not applicable. Notification 70/2019 confirms that only B2B tax invoice is applicable. Right? So in a simple way, if GSTR1, you are seeing the line-wise reporting other than table 5 B2C lot. Goods or services. Though you may say, isn't that the recipient unregistered in case of export? But the government said, it's okay. You still have to do an invoice there. Let's look at the process of generating an invoice. You have a taxpayer who is the seller having an ERP, in-house ERP, a standard ERP, whatever. They would connect the ERP application in the backend to the GSP. All right. What they would do, they will send a JSON file. This JSON file will get validated by the IRP. They will check a deduplicacy check. And if everything is in conformity, the schema is in proper everything, they will issue an IRN, invoice reference number, digitally sign the document, send it back to the seller, step 4. What does the seller do? He will print it with the QR code. Rule 46 got amended. The QR code to be printed and given to buyer. While the same data, IRP sending it to the seller, he would also send it to the 2 other government portals, which is GSTZen for GSTR1 update, e-way bill portal for generating e-way bill. When we say e-way bill, part A of e-way bill. With this data, if you're also transmitting the vehicle details, part B will also get updated and e-way bill gets generated. And this happens on a real time, which is like a fraction of seconds, this gets generated. Let's understand certain key terms. Invoice reference number. It's a combination of 4 fields: GST number, financial year, document type, and the document number. A combination of this, the 64, it's only for computers, humans can ignore this. Second, IRP, invoice registration portal. In the e-invoice, IRP is the key person. IRP is the one who collects the data from taxpayer, maintains a registry. Because there are 6 registries, IRP first does a deduplicacy so that the same document has not been sent to any other register. Upon confirmation that this is a new invoice, the digitally signed QR code and invoice is sent back to the taxpayer. This happens kind of on a blink of eye. It doesn't really take much of a time. It just gets completed. What do you get from the IRP? If you open the file and see, you will see a JSON file like this. Acknowledgement date, acknowledgement number. Now you can see that EYJHBGCI. That's the contents of the signed invoice and signed QR code. So you need special tools to decode this and put it back. Then lastly, the QR code. This is what digitally has to be printed and issued to the customer. You can use mobile and scan this. What do you get it? It is a digitally signed QR code, contains a high-level invoice parameters. Basically, it is only knowing the authenticity of the invoice, whether it is genuine or not. What does it contain? It contains a buyer GST number, document date, document number, document type, how many number of items, what is the main HSN code, total invoice value. It's basically high-level information. But when you use your mobile and scan it, you're not going to get this information. When you use a mobile and scan, you will get all the EYQ, whatever the junk information that you'll be getting it. All right. There's an app. You can use GSTZen app, or you can also use the app given by NIC. Either of those apps will permit you to convert that QR code, which is encrypted form. Some of the FAQs. People always ask, when do we generate an e-invoice? Section 31 mandates issuance of invoices with regards to the goods on or before commencement of the goods. If you're doing a sale across the counter, even before the sale is completed, you have to do it. For services, as and when you are issuing the invoice to the customer, at that time you have to do the invoice. Is e-waybill mandatory or can I escape it? E-waybill is still mandatory because it is governed under Rule 138. E-invoice is Rule 48. E-waybill can be generated simultaneously along with the e-invoice, but generation of e-waybill is mandatory. You can generate an e-invoice but not generate an e-waybill. Choice is yours. You can generate e-waybill later. If you have to cancel the e-invoice, you have to first cancel the e-waybill, then only you can cancel the e-invoice. These are the things you should be knowing. While you print an invoice, it is mandatory. When you print the invoice, you print it with IRN and the QR code. QR code in the digital display is sufficient. You don't need to carry the physical form of the invoice. While in transit, the truck operator shows the QR on mobile that gets scanned by the officer. Squad has their equipment. Once they scan it, they will get the full details of invoice, contents, and the e-waybill. Will the e-invoice be automatically sent to the recipient? The answer is no. That's why I put it in red. IRP is not going to send it to the recipient. He will only give an acknowledgement JSON. Of course, government is building a system. It's been quite a long time. Not sure when that is going to come up. What do you need to save the details in your portal? The acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, and the invoice and QR code in your accounting software, because you have to establish that you have done the invoice. When the audit is happening, so 3 years later, if they're asking, have you complied with the law? This is where you will be showing yes. Can you cancel an invoice? Yes, it can be cancelled, but it has to be cancelled within 24 hours of creation. And by the way, when we say 24 hours is not a literal 24 hours. Let's say now at 3:30 p.m. we have generated e-invoice. 24 hours starts from midnight of today. So till tomorrow midnight, you can cancel the e-invoice. Can you modify it? Answer is an e-invoice is generated, you cannot modify it. You may say, I just need to add an address or whatever. No, nothing can be done because it's a hash. Hash gets corrected, so it cannot be modified. What if I have generated for us? You cannot cancel from the portal, but what happened to your e-invoice? Your e-invoice has traveled to GSTR1. You go to GSTR1, delete the auto-populated e-invoice from the GSTR1. You can cancel it in your books also. Will this not be a discrepancy? Of course, it is a discrepancy. You can explain. And that is why you have table 13 of GSTR1 where you can see these are cancelled invoices. Mistakes happen. There's not an issue, right? There's a two-factor authentication which has been started. People who are logging in manually, you will be entering username password. Along with it, any factor, like you can get a code on your mobile, you'll be entering and logging in. Because you are doing manually, the people doesn't want to impersonate and make mistakes. But when you do with the integration with the system, it's just happening in the backend. You don't have this concept of two-factor authentication in the systems because system is authenticated. Like two-factor authentications always get inbuilt into the system. Let's say you are using GSTZen application and you have your ERP. You need to log into your ERP. So you are in your office or somewhere, you're logging into ERP. So already first authentication has been done. You're doing a handshake with the GSTZen, which is a GSP, and this is connecting to the IRP. The second factor authentication is also done, taken care. So the two-factor authentication is inbuilt. User doesn't need to again do a manual work. And I always tell anything to do with the system, you should never do manual works. So from when this has been implemented? This has been implemented now, a week back. So everyone whose turnover is 5 crores and above, mandatory from 1st February to 25, a two-factor to ensure the security for logging into e-waybill and e-invoice portal. This is where again it becomes time consuming. So I would recommend everyone to switch to system-based generation rather than manually generating the e-invoices. So you'll enter username password, you'll receive OTP on registered mobile number, you'll enter the OTP and then you will access it. Certain issues is most of the time the OTP goes to some other person. There's a dependency on access of that person. Extra step, time consuming, OTPs, network issue, received late. By the time you enter, session expired. We have answer seen many times of this, right? There are benefits. I'm not saying no benefits. There are huge benefits, but be mindful of these issues. Lastly, before I get on to demo, some other technical aspects one should be knowing. How do I prepare the e-invoice as per the schema, communicate with the IRP and send the e-invoices? We'll start one by one. In terms of the schema is well defined. And when you use softwares like GSTZen, it acts as a middle layer. From your ERP accounting system, the invoice details comes to GSTZen, it gets validated. If it is invalid, it doesn't go to IRP portal and come back. A valid e-invoice is only sent to the IRP government portal. The IRN and digital signature which is received can be sent as an email and PDF to the customer, and it will always saved in the ERP. Any given point of time, you can access the middle layer GSTZen for downloading the invoices, QR code, or any other information. When we come to schema has various sections like header, transaction, document level. If I have to, I'll actually explain this with the invoice. And each, this is the thing. You can see this is the seller section, buyer section, document. So these are all the sections. And what you are seeing in the red color are all mandatory sections. That means minimum one information is required. You may have additional information also, like dispatch address. It's an optional section. Shipping address, subsection optional. Purchase reference item optional. Payment terms optional. So on the schema, you have mandatory and optional sections. You can choose to enter the information or ignore it. And if you see the schema, it always starts with 0.1, either 1 or n. Starts with 0 and 1, ends with 1 and n. Starting with 0 means it is optional, starting with 1 means it is mandatory. Ending with 1 means it is a single occurrence, ending with n means it is multiple occurrence. For example, line items. The schema is 1.n. At least one line will be there, multiple lines can be there. N, it is 1.1. Seller name is mandatory and it can only be one name, one GST number, right? Payment terms, it will be 0.n. It can be optional, but terms you can write as many as terms that you want to, you can write. Yeah. So totally there are 133, totally 45 sections, 28 mandatory, 17 optional sections, 45 sections, and the mandatory sections, the mandatory fields is 28. Even in the optional sections, if you are opting it, there is a field that is required. You may ask, with 133 fields, will I be able to complete the entire invoice? You have this like 0.n, 1.n. So the number of occurrence of those fields are multiple. Like for example, the product type, like you are selling a shirt color, shirt texture, it could be size, various things that you want to add to the product. Schema has captured all this information. You can use it. Since 2020 till 25, not even a single change happened to the e-invoice schema. Pretty beautifully written. Of course, industry has made some recommendation. Maybe at next stage when it is made mandatory to everyone, the next version can come. But 5 years, it's been running smoothly. What are the mandatory and optional? It is more self-explanatory. I'll be sharing this presentation. Now, coming to how, like it's been theories over, let's understand practically how this happens. So at GSTZen, we have an Excel connector, wherein you will do a data entry in Excel, or you have a database connector directly through the ODBC or the whichever be the database, the data can be accepted. If you have a standard ERPs like SAP, Oracle, Tally, we have our plugins, you can use that. Or a secured folder method, FTP, you can drag and drop and the data will be fetched from that. These methods are available. So we will see how the happens and how the invoice gets generated. What I'll do is I'll pause at this point. We will live see all these things. Again, I'll come back on how it is happening, what are the data elements that we are reading and all those things. Let's look at live how this is happening. Let me pause at this point. I request Nikhil to present the data of generating e-invoice from GSTZen. Nikhil?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I clear, sir, from my end? Audio?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me quickly share my screen.
One minute, let's see.
Yeah, one second.
Utkarsh, you have to pass the screen share control to Nikhil.
Sir, he has the access. Sir. He's
क्या भाई हम तो कर पा रहे हैं ना ओके yes sir. Yeah, sorry for the pause. uh, yeah, good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon sir. So as you can see on the screen right now, this is the URL where we'll be logging into GSTZen account. So as you can see here, as a new member to the platform, you have to do the registration by clicking on this registration button. You can enter as a user for GSTZen. Since I had already created an account, I'll log in using the credentials, email and password. So let me log into the account. Yeah.
Yeah, able to see your screen now.
Yeah. Yeah. As you log into the platform right now, you have to add all your branches. So we have this add new GST button where you can enter all your GST and it will shall be picking up the taxpayer name and can update the taxpayer type, and henceforth you can update or add all your branches to GST Center. So this can be accessed under different level. So we can work on that or based on the tax return, we can work on the record. Or by these devices also we should be able to work upon all the branches right now. So currently for e-invoicing purpose, before starting the session, a live demo, I would like to brief on that. We'll be seeing the demos where we can directly create an invoice using GSTZen software, and the same how it shall be done through using our Excel utility. And we have our API set for the same. So we'll be also having a walkthrough on the APIs, plus how it can be done through database integration. So let me open one of the dummy GST. Okay. Yeah, as soon as you open that particular GSTN, you can see this create invoice tab on the right hand side. So you can click on that button and it will provide a provision where you can enter all the invoice level details which are mandatory. So let me quickly try to make an invoice with today's date. You can type the document type as invoice. You have to update the recipient details. So let me, yeah, you can update all the mandatory details. And we have the line item level details where you have to update the product level details. So I'll just select one of the product. We'll select share as in product. You should be able to see the tax rate verification, the GST rates, and the SSN code shall be picked up automatically. If in case you would like to make any changes here, you can update it. So let's make the unit price changes and I'll increase the quantity. Once you make the entries, you can save this particular invoice. You'll be seeing the notification that this particular invoice has been created. And towards the bottom, you can see this review button. Once you click on it, it shall be taking you to that particular invoice. So what mandatory details are provided for invoicing for this particular tax invoice, you should be able to verify from it. And we have an option if in case you would like to do the necessary changes, you would like to update anything, we can edit with the billing software. So once you click on it, it'll take you back to the previous page and you can update the details and you can proceed further. So let me straight away proceed with generating an invoice. So we have this particular button for the same. I'll click on generate invoice. Yeah, I think there is an issue since I changed the host. Yeah. So this is how you should be able to generate the invoicing directly on software. Okay. So currently we have an issue with the invoice sandbox admin, which is why we're getting this error. So let's proceed with the normal Excel utility where we'll be uploading the invoices and we'll be creating invoicing against it. So we have the sheet for the invoice on the right hand side. We'll come to that particular button. And we have various methods. With GSTZen, you can go with your own Excel. We'll be doing this customization and we'll be asking the system to fetch the record from your Excel and generate an invoice against it. Or else you can go with the standard invoice Excel, which is as per the government format. And we also support on various options, other options like converting JSON to invoice or creating an invoice using the APIs. So we'll see how to generate an invoice using the standard format here. So once you click on this particular button, you should be able to download the standard format for invoicing. Let's pause here to see what are the details that need to be provided under Excel utility for creating an invoice in GSTZen platform. Yeah. Yeah, so we have major three tabs. One is about section. We'll be able to see the different sections for that particular invoice, which are invoice level, supply level, recipient level, ship to, and item level details. So if in case if you need clarity on the data that need to be passed upon, you can refer to this particular sheet. And we have the sample Excel utility where it can be used. So these are the major headers which are highlighted with bold color. You can see all the invoice level details, document type, document date, document number, and supply details need to be passed upon as it is being in the mandatory header. And we have the recipient details like recipient GST number, legal name, address, ship to details. And also we have to update the SSN details and item level details. We have to update the tax rate. Yeah. We also have the master data section where you can refer if in case if you need clarity on a specific type of transactions, what data need to be passed upon, or what are the document type that being accepted from the portal for invoices or credit note or any other document type like advance receipts and all. So currently for the demo purpose, I had prepared a data, dummy data. I'll just try to upload and we'll see how we can create a live invoice using this particular Excel utility. As you'll come here and you'll be uploading that particular Excel. Yeah. As you can see here, within a fraction of seconds, all the invoices got imported to the platform. Yeah. So once you import the record to GSTZen platform, you'll be able to see three different summary part, where exactly you'll be able to see the summary upon the invoices which is being imported, and error page where you'll be able to see if there are any errors involved in that particular invoices, and the invoices which got actually imported to the platform. So here from this file, we can see here there are 5 invoices which got imported, and you should be able to track the invoice status from here using these color codes. So I will proceed further in creating e-invoices against these invoices. So for that, you'll be clicking on this upload e-invoice button. Once you click on that, system will ask you whether you would like to proceed in uploading these invoices and creating an e-invoice against it. You'll give the confirmation. Once you give the confirmation, and the fraction of seconds to create an e-invoice. Yeah. And for the same, if you like to see the document print of the invoices which are created right now, we'll be referring to this download PDF button, and you should be able to see the print of that particular invoice which got generated. So currently we are having an issue with the invoice system, which is why we're getting an error. So we won't be able to see the response details like IRN, acknowledged data number, and the QR code. Yeah. Now we'll proceed in seeing how we can create an invoice using APIs. For that, we'll come to the platform and we have provided the API docs, including this API docs. And we should be able to see the API collection from here. So basically, when we proceed with the APIs for creating invoices, there are a few major things which need to be noted down. One is the header, and the other one is the content or the data and the endpoints to which you'll be passing the JSON format. So under header, you should be having unique authentication token code, which is against your account. So currently you can see here as per the documentation, this is the auth token which we'll be using for testing purpose. And for your own account, you should be able to access your token from the profile section. I'll show that as well. So once you come to the profile part, you should be able to see that particular auth token under your API keys. Yeah. So the whole process of invoicing has been divided into different stages with different endpoints. So currently we should be able to see what is the data that will be passed upon to create an invoices and what is the response we shall be getting against it. And we have a different endpoint for the cancellation of invoices. And in creation of the e-way bill on the IRM which got created, we have to use a different endpoint. The data and the token remain shall same. And for the demo purpose, we have provided a sandbox environment setup where you can test upon the invoice creation for all these GST numbers provided as per this documentation. So we'll try to see how this can be done using our Postman collection. For that, I'll just click on this download invoice collection, and I had installed Postman in my system. We'll try to import the Postman collection and we'll see how this can be done through APIs. So I had already imported. So I'll import one more copy here. Yeah. As you had seen, the token, you can see the auth token, and this is the content you shall be passing against it. Let me make some changes to the current data that we're having with current date. Yeah. So you can see all the sections that is applicable for invoicing under this particular JSON schema. And the other thing you have to make sure that you're using the correct token and the GST in which you shall be generating invoice has to be added in GSTZen account. Let's see the print actually. What are the responses that shall be getting it? So we'll come to the software and we'll see for the responses. So currently, what are the details that we'll be getting for invoicing? That we'll be getting the status as one, and we'll be having an IRN generated against it with an acknowledgement date and number. As we have not generated any bill against this, it shall be coming as null and should be able to get the signed QR code as well as the signed PDF copy of the invoices from the government portal. So invoice PDF URL from GSTZen point of view, we had simplified this for client purpose. So basically, you shall be getting the simplified details of that particular invoice which got created. So in order to see the print, we'll be using the prefix as my.gstzhen.in. We'll copy paste that PDF URL, and you shall be getting the print of invoices which got created. As you can see right now, this is got created on this particular day within this time, and we have the IRN generated against it. And using the government application, you should be able to verify these details using this QR code. And we also have a part where shall be giving a provision where you can sign that particular invoices from GSTZen portal. So this shall be an add-on for the software. So if in case you'd like to proceed with a customized printout on the same, we have a digitally signed copy of or digital signatures provision where you can provide your own customized signature on the invoices which will be created. Yeah. And one thing to note down here is that once you generate an EV bill also in the same IRN, and if you're canceling that particular IRN, the EV bill also get cancelled. So make sure if in case you would like to only cancel that EV bill against that particular document number, you should be only using this particular endpoint to cancel that EV bill alone. And you can make sure that from the response that EV bill got cancelled and IRN shall be still active. And you can also refer to our invoice JSON sample if in case if you need guidance on how the data should be passed about for various documents. And we also provide a provision where you can refer to e-invoice schema to understand this better. So this is how we can do the e-invoice creation using the APIs from GSTZen point of view. I'll take another few minutes to demonstrate how this will work on the database system. So let me close this tab. Yeah. So we had done the setup of database within the system. As you can see here right now, yeah, this is the data which I'll be passing upon for invoice creation. And we have a storage system where you can see all the data is being stored and what are the document number and the necessary details against it. You can also verify the IRN which got generated against it in this particular system. Currently, you can see here there are 5 invoices which got generated. So let's try to make a live environment IRN creation for this one of the documents. So we'll provide another document here, and you should be clicking on this executed button to check upon the e-invoice which got created. So you can see all these 5 invoices which are already created. So let's make sure that whether these are visible in our system or not. So let me come back to the same GST number which we were working on. Yeah, we should be able to verify all these invoices which got created, so we can cross verify whether these are the same invoices or not. So here, invoice number 123456, 12348, and the others invoices you should be able to see in this particular GST number against it. Yeah, and this is a local host system where we'll be syncing upon these invoices from your backend. So currently we have 4 dashboards. So currently for syncing invoices, you should be coming here and should be clicking on the sync invoice button, and it'll take another few minutes to sync the invoices from the database. And once this is synced, we should be able to see all the status and all the invoices which got created under this database system. So currently from these 6 invoices, we can see one got cancelled. The rest we have verified from the GSTZen portal. So if in case you would like to see this particular invoice which got created, you can individually open and see the response against this. So here also you should be able to verify the print. We just go through APIs. So currently we have the exact same print format with a QR code and a provision to add your own customized digital signature on this particular invoice which got created. So currently these are the GST number which has been added to the database, and these are the invoices. And we have verified the same from the GSTN account that this has been created. Yeah. This completes the demonstration of invoice creation from GSTN portal. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So let's come back where we left. And I'm sure some of you had the audio issue. I can see it in the chat, but nevertheless, don't worry. I will explain you whatever you missed in an easy way. This is where we left. So you can have an integration with the data source Tally, SAP, Oracle, EBS, Microsoft Dynamics NAV, or any other ERPs, or if not anything, just you can use GSTZen billing application of the cloud. What the Nikhil was trying to do is from your ERP terminal, we will deploy an ERP database. It is a database integration. We will deploy this ERP database. He has shown you the live, but this is what it happens, and the data is collected. So if you think that you don't have access to the code base of your ERP, no worries. The database terminal will take care. How does it do? We will analyze your existing data schema. We will create a view to fetch whatever the documents fields required for generating e-invoice. We'll create a table to store the IRN QR code, the responses that are being collected from the IRP. And it is also a GSTZen connector is done, so you can configure the time intervals at what frequency you want to change it. How does a database view look like this? Something similar to that. So we are creating an IRN info with the various field names. The left side one you're seeing is SMT01 GST number as buyer GSTN, SMT01 customer name as buyer name. So whatever the fields that are there in your database, we connect and create a collection that is more like a user you can understand. We create the database. And once that is done, the data which is fetched from the government portal, the only thing which we add additionally is UUID. We create a unique identification number for the document. So anytime you are talking to any GSTZen help desk, you can always fetch this, or you can, since the data is routed through us on our server, you can enter this and you can trace the entire information. In terms of API, if you have your in-house team, we can also give an API which can do complete session management. We provide an enriched API. So we provide a interface which is a developer-friendly interface. You can be calling the data in an enriched API rather than going to the plain vanilla. If your developer can understand the government, the government thing, we will facilitate in mapping that, and we will only do the postman job. If you have to use the API, you always need to have a GSP connector. So like you have to talk to GSTZen like us. A collection, what the Nikhil was trying to do. I'm just showing, I've taken a screenshot of it in the postman collection. So on the left side is the raw data, which you will post it. Once you post it, on the right side of the screen, you can see the success message that has come, where the status 1 means it is successfully generated, 0 is an error. What does the message says? IRN has been generated. By the way, you can cancel an invoice. So IRN cancel, you will get a message according to the thing, e-Bill request, e-Bill generated, those respective messages and required information. So the left side information is already there in your database. This gets added to the database, and the one of the demo which the Nikhil has given, he logged into the portal and he has generated, and there is also an Excel integration. Let me just show. This is the Excel integration. So you can do a data entry in the Excel. We will provide you an Excel platform. So you can just put the data into your Excel. On the top of it, a new button gets added called GSTZen. You can see the upload invoices. You click that button, all these invoices directly goes to the government portal. That's possible. So you can, by the way, this is just our Excel. If you have an Excel completely different, but all required fields that is required to generate the invoices there, we can go with your Excel connector also. We need to do a one-time mapping of your database. Like you can upload an Excel. So what I have shown earlier is from the Excel clicking a button, or you can come to GSTZen portal and you can upload an Excel. One time you need to do a mapping of that, and you can generate an invoice from that. So whatever be the different forms, GSTZen plays as a middle layer and connects to your billing system, POS, ERP, whatever, and generates an invoice. These are our premium customers who have been happily generating invoice over last 5 years, and very trusted partners. They all love the simplicity of ease of generating invoice with our applications. If someone of you have a doubt, you can always reach to us. This is our support number, support@gstzen.in, 7406441122. Let me look into questions. If something you have, please put your questions. Let me take up the questions. Whether e-invoice is applicable for exempted goods like electricity? No, e-invoice is applicable only for taxable supply, not exempted supply. What is the time limit to generate an invoice? Can I generate invoice after 1 week, 30 days, after 2 months? No, invoice has to be generated on real time. However, if you have missed generating an invoice, you have 30 days time to generate an invoice. Is invoice applicable in case of exports under LUT? Yes, invoice is applicable in case of exports under LUT. Sale to tourist shown under export GST or one. No, when you make a sale to tourist, I don't think it would be an export. So PPT would be shared. We are dealing with export supply. We have answered this. How to generate e-way bill information for the invoices raised through GSTZen. So once the invoice is generated through GSTZen, and let's say part A is created, you can log into e-way bill portal. You will see the information of part A. You just need to enter the vehicle bill, vehicle details, and part B gets completed. Or you can use GSTZen standalone application to generate the e-way bill also. Perfect. So we've looked at all the questions, and we'll be sharing the presentation to all the registered users. Thank you very much for joining with GSTZen.